Welcome back, economists. Today we're going to be focusing on equilibrium and also the market. So now we've gone over supply, we've gone over demand. Now we're going to combine both of those concepts on one graph. So here we have the market for coffee, we have our price, we have our quantity. So the first thing you're going to do is make sure you draw in your supply and your demand. This is your demand curve. Label it D0. Always label your graphs. And this is S0. Now they intersect at a certain point. This specific point is where quantity demanded equals quantity supplied. There's no excess. Again, at each different price point, individuals want to produce and individuals want to consume different amounts. So at this point, they both equal each other. Again, supply and demand equal each other at this specific price. So we're going to call this the equilibrium price. And then this is the equilibrium quantity. Again, equilibrium meaning both equal each other, there's no waste. This is the most efficient point on the graph. That will always be the case. So from here, there's a couple things we're going to do. I have four problems that we're going to look at. So this is obviously a practice problem video. So you should know the shift factors for each curve and know what happens because of those shift factors. And now we're always going to compare it to our original equilibrium point. So this is our equilibrium 1, let's just say, because this is D0 and S0. These are our initial curves. So from here, we're going to see what happens after we make some shifts. So you can go ahead and do these on your own. I highly encourage you guys to do this on a piece of paper just so you get extra practice. So we're looking at the market for coffee, and these are our four problems. We're going to do them step by step for each one, and we'll see what happens specifically. All right, so the first one, there's an increase in taste. So I could have wrote out a lot more, but basically this becomes more popular. So coffee becomes more popular. Basically, because of this, the curve that it's going to specifically affect is your demand curve. Again, remember that one of the shift factors is changes in taste and preference. If something becomes more popular, this is basically saying coffee has become more popular, what's going to happen to our demand curve? So if you remember back to our video, anytime there's an increase in taste or preference, you're going to see a shift to the right. So now this is our new demand curve. Now you'll see that there's a new equilibrium point. This new equilibrium point's right here. This is the intersection. This is where D1 intersects S0. So our new demand and our initial supply. Now the thing that we're going to look at is the price and the quantity. So if we were to say this is PEQ2, this is 1, 1, and this is QEQ2. You want to know what happened to price. So as you can tell, you're further away from the origin. Again, this is the origin. The further away you are, the higher the price. Also, the further away you are in terms of quantity, there's an increase in quantity. So going from here to here, there is an increase. So I will test you on this. This is something good to know, just in general. What's happening to price if something becomes more popular? So there's an increase in demand in this case. And because of this, price has increased and quantity has increased. All right, so the next one we're going to go over is when there's a tax implemented. So when we went over the shift factors for supply and demand, one of the shift factors for a specific curve was taxes and subsidies. So if you remember, great. If not, again, just a little bit of study. So anytime there's a tax imposed, it's always going to be on the seller, in our case. So again, referring back to our shift factors, anytime there's a tax imposed, that means this firm or these producers, they have to pay the government X amount of money to produce their product. So because of this, you treat tax like an increase in cost of production. So if cost of production has gone up, our supply curve is going to shift to the left. Now we have a new equilibrium point. It's this point right here where D0 intersects S1. Now we're going to see what happened to price. So as we can see, price has increased. Again, we're comparing these two equilibrium points. And we're also going to see that quantity has decreased. Again, we're getting closer to the origin. We're just comparing two equilibrium quantities and two equilibrium prices. So again, you should be able to determine what happens to this curve and then what happens to your equilibrium point specifically. Does price increase? Does price decrease? Does quantity increase? Does quantity decrease? So this is a big portion of economics, being able to understand the intuition behind this and implementing the correct shifts. Okay, So the third one is there's a decrease in the price of tea. So I don't have it written up here, but we're going to assume that tea and coffee are substitutes. You can consume either and you'll still get the same amount of benefit or happiness, whatever you want to look at specifically. So if there's a decrease in the price of tea and there's substitutes, now basically tea is seen to be cheaper than coffee. What curve is going to be shifted? Is it going to be supply or demand? The correct answer is your demand curve. Basically, we're looking at the market for coffee, remember that. So if there's a decrease in the price of tea, that's more cheaper. More people are going to buy this good because it's cheaper. And on top of that, you can replace coffee with tea and you'll get the same amount of benefit. So demand is going to decrease. So this is our new equilibrium point. This is our old equilibrium point. Again, our initial intersection and our new intersection. So what's happening to price? Price is decreasing. What's happening to quantity? Quantity is decreasing. We're getting closer to the origin. So that's how we do substitutes. So again, you can just mess around with the different types of shift factors. Always try to draw it out. Always label everything. It's a good habit to have, especially when you're first starting out. Okay, so the last one, it's a little tricky. There's an increase in the price in the future. So in the future, the prices are going to be higher. So who is this going to affect? That's the key thing here. So initially, most students say just supply, but that's not always the case. It also affects your demand as well. Because again, price expectations affect consumers as well as producers. So if there's an increase in the price in the future, what do you think suppliers are going to do today? They're going to want to produce less because again, they're incentivized by higher prices, capture more profit, assuming that you keep your cost low or constant. So in this case, if there's an increase in the price in the future, we're looking at the market today. That's another key distinction. We're looking at the market today. There's going to be a decrease in the supply today. So that's the initial shift. So this is a two-parter. There's multiple shifts in this graph. So this is our initial intersection. Now, what we're going to do is with demand. So if the price is higher in the future, what are people going to go out and do today? The correct answer is going to be they're going to go out and purchase more today because they want at a lower price. So today it's cheaper than it is in the future. Again, we're looking at the market, the snapshot of the market today. So demand is going to increase. So now because of this, we have two new curves. We have D1 and we have S1. Now the new equilibrium point is at the intersection of S1 and D1. It's not at the initial shift. Again, the new equilibrium is after you're done making all of the complete shifts. So now our equilibrium is right here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to notice is price obviously increased. We're getting further away from the origin. The next thing is quantity. So what's happening to quantity? Now the word we use here is ambiguous. It could be either or. In this case, we're saying that it's going to stay constant. Now, if we had certain degrees to which these curves shift, that'd be much more particular, that's much more advanced stuff, and you would be able to know how much the quantity actually changed. But in this case, the whole concept we're trying to get across is there's an increase in price because of these two shifts. And the quantity is going to stay the same or it's ambiguous. Okay, so that's basically all for when we combine supply and demand to our market. So another thing we're going to show you guys is if there's an increase in the price of the good itself, what's going to happen specifically? So for this, we're going to use actual numbers. Again, you can replace these PEQs and the QEQs with actual numbers. It's the same concept. So, just going to clean up the graph. So if I say there is an increase in the price of coffee. So if there's an increase in the price of coffee, and I tell you that our equilibrium price is, let's just say it's $3. And at this amount, individuals want to purchase, let's just say 10 units or 10 cups of coffee. So now our new event taking place is an increase in the price of coffee. So now coffee has increased to $5. Now we want to see what happens. So in this case, is there going to be a shift or a movement? So for the most part, some students get confused and they draw two separate points where it's just right here. That's not correct. The correct answer is it's going to be a movement along both curves. So at this point right here, this is our initial equilibrium. This is good. Now when the price increases to $5, these 2 points are points of interest to us. Now we'll talk about why those are of interest. So at $5, this is the quantity demanded. Again, this is on your demand curve. So this is your quantity demanded. Now let's just say that number is 7. Now at this point right here, this is your quantity supplied. And let's just say this is 11. Again, this graph isn't drawn to scale. It's just to highlight concepts. So this gap that we have, it's not efficient. Basically, quantity demanded does not equal quantity supplied. So it's saying that the price is too high. So this is what happens when the price increases. So when the price of coffee increases, think of it as a consumer. If you go to Starbucks and you usually pay $5 for a drink and now it's $10, you're going to scale back your consumption. So in this case, same concept. When we increase the price of coffee, people scale back their consumption. The quantity demanded has decreased. Before, they wanted 10, now they want 7 because the price has increased. Law of demand. Now for suppliers, originally they wanted to produce 10 or provide 10 units. Now, with the increase in price, they want to produce 11 units. They want to produce much more because there's an incentive too. With the higher price, there's more incentives to produce more. So in this case, when the price is set above equilibrium, we call this a surplus. So it's surplus because quantity supplied is greater than quantity demanded. Again, we can look at the numbers, 11 and 7. 11 is greater than 7. So this is an example when things go on sale at the grocery store. This is how you fix a surplus. You basically discount the price and it'll increase consumption. So at a lower price, more people want things. So the way you would fix this is just decrease the price. If you decrease the price, this gives less incentive to produce, and this gives more incentive to consume, and you'll meet back at this original equilibrium point. So that's a surplus. So if we look at it the other way, so that was our surplus. Now we're going to look at what happens when we decrease the price. So there's a decrease in the price for coffee. So now the price went from $3 to, let's just say, $1. So now at $1, there's a new price associated with it. So there's a new quantity and quantity demanded and quantity supplied. So now at this point, right here, this is our quantity demanded. Again, it's on our demand curve. So at a lower price, we demand much more than before. Why is that? The whole theory behind law of demand, the lower the price, the greater the demand. Now here, this is our quantity supplied. Why do less people want to produce this product? The main reasoning is the price. The lower the price, the less incentive, the less profit that they get to keep. So in this case, we call this a shortage. This is when quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied. Again, you can look at the numbers. 11 is greater than 7 in this case. So the way you fix this is you increase the price. If you increase the price, this discourages consumption and it encourages production. So that's how you fix this problem. Examples of this, we'll talk about rent control and also minimum wage, which is a surplus, and we'll see it in real life application. But the main thing you need to get here is if you set the price below equilibrium, you have a shortage. You set the price above, you have a surplus. And you should know how to fix those based on the video so far. So yeah, that's basically it for this video. If you guys have any questions, leave comments in the comment section. Feel free to reach out to me. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys next time.